Good evening. Okay, I think it's okay. We're live. Good evening po to everyone who's watching, and I would just like to welcome you to another exciting webinar that we are having. Okay, this is another episode of IGSL's mentoring Iron Sharpening Moments. Okay, Iron Sharpening Moments, and I am your host for tonight. And obviously, if you haven't noticed, I am not Dr. Neil Mamburam. Okay. Unfortunately, Dr. Neil Mamburam couldn't be with us tonight. He's not feeling well. So if you could also just pray for him. So my name is Milton, and I will be hosting tonight's webinar. Now, if you are, I mean, we are blessed tonight because we have great panelists with us who actually will be able to really equip us about things, how we do outreaches in this time. And you may be asking, outreaches, ever since the pandemic, we have faced, especially the people in the churches, the pastors, ministers, you're probably asking, outreaches have been close to non-existent during these times as per the outreaches that we are so used to seeing, right? We have not been, with the pandemic ongoing, it's been difficult just to get out of the house, and we couldn't meet in churches. We can't go to the target areas that we're so used to going. So how do we do outreaches? And those are some of the things that we will learn from practitioners of something that I'm not sure if you heard it, but this is what we call digital outreach. Okay, so welcome to digital outreach, and we are joined by friends from Crew Digital Strategy Team joining us live from various places in the country. So imagine this: we are having this webinar, and we have our panelists who we will be talking to later, who are in different places in the country. Okay, if you are well, let me just check. Sorry, let me just check on something with my computer. Okay, all right. Now if you are watching this through YouTube, well, why don't you just share this on your wall and maybe start a watch party, because we'd like to be able to reach as many people as we can. Why? Because we think that this webinar will be very helpful to a lot of ministers. Okay, and then also, if you are watching on YouTube, logged in on your YouTube account and watching this, or on Facebook, why don't you comment down on the comment section and let us know from where you are watching from. Okay, we'd love to know where you are watching from. All right, our guest panelists for tonight, let me just introduce them. They are digital missionaries from Crew. Okay, digital missionaries. Have you ever heard that term? So we're so used to hearing missionaries, missionaries. Now you talk about digital missionaries, and yung eyebrows natin, our eyebrows may be going up. What's a digital missionary? What do they do? Or we didn't even know that they exist. They do. We have digital missionaries in our midst. So that's very interesting. So let's find out more as I introduce our friends from Crew. Okay. So we have with us Mr. Ace Pendon, who right now is joining us from Quezon City. Okay.
Evening,
Welcome.
everyone. Good evening, Pastor
Yeah.
Milton. Good evening,
Right.
everyone.
Good evening, Ace. So he's a missionary of Crew, and he's also one of the leaders of Indigitus. I'm not sure if you have heard of Indigitus, but they are a community of Christians in technology, and we have actually attended some of their trainings also. And so that's a very good it's a very good exposure that we can have about digital ministry. And then we have also Miss Rexil Ramos. Hello, Miss Rexil Ramos.
Hi, good evening, Pastor Milton. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, Miss Rexel Ramos is an accounting consultant, and she's joining us from Palawan. Would you
Yes.
believe that? From Palawan. So it's a nice place to be at. And then the last but not the least also is we have Mr. Aljus Salomon. Okay, hi, Mr. Aljus. Good evening. Ayan, medyo mahihain po yung friend
Hello, sorry, I was on mute. Good evening.
Uh, no, Mr. Ajus is a social media manager, and he is joining us all the way from Cebu. Okay, I hope you guys are doing good there. Alam ko we've heard a lot in the news about Cebu recently. So anyway, let's get right on to our discussions. So let me just ask, because we've been hearing, what is digital outreach? Would anyone like to answer that? What is digital outreach?
Pastor Milton, digital outreach is as simple as doing online evangelism. But we
Mm-hmm.
also consider digital outreach not just an event, but we also consider it as a community. So here in digital outreach, we teach people how to share and then immediately apply what they have learned. And we also
Mm-hmm.
coach them as they share the gospel online. So three
Mm-hmm.
elements: equipping, immediate action, and then coaching. So it started with an idea of like an online evangelism together with a group.
Uh-huh. Wow. That's a very good strategy, kasi it basically removes that the logistical, sometimes it's difficult to do outreaches depending on the
Yeah.
situation. So the things that you're saying, key elements: equipping, immediate action, and coaching, because there are times when we equip people, then they don't get to do anything.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Ace. Then let me just ask this. I'm just curious, when and how did it start? No, did it just start this upon the onset of the pandemic? Uh, what season? It's already a season, huh? This pandemic thing. Anyone wants to answer?
Yeah, Pastor Milton, actually it started way back June 2014. So we
Mm-hmm.
have been doing digital outreach for 6 years already. So it did not
Wow.
start
Mm-hmm.
during this pandemic season only, but it is true that the number of digital outreaches that we are conducting during this season actually increased. So let me just give to you a short history how this DO started.
Mm-hmm.
So this started as an initiative of crew to start digital strategies in the Philippines. As I remember, around during that time, 2013, 2014, that digital strategies is still starting here in our country. And after
Mm-hmm.
much prayer, planning, so of course, evangelism is the next step as we do the ministry. I can still remember the first digital event that happened. It was actually a whole day event, and we had three repeating sessions, one in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. So actually, I was not yet
Mm-hmm.
part of the digital strategy team during that time. So I was with
Mm-hmm.
crew finance team, but I already helped in the I think freebies. I helped in the preparation of
Mm-hmm.
the freebies. So what we did in that whole day event is so we invited students, professionals, missionaries, and even ministry leaders wherein we equipped them on how to do the
Mm-hmm.
digital outreach online. So at first we actually used a platform we called Watch Think Chat. I can actually still remember how it
Mm-hmm.
looked like, but later it evolved into two applications which are called Voc app and the Mission Hub. So that's the history of digital outreach.
Well, thank you for that, Rexia. And for those watching, again, we just like to encourage you. Why don't you continue commenting? Send in your comments if you have questions that probably we can answer later, right? I'm not sure if we're gonna have enough time, but why don't you just send in your questions, okay? Or if you want to comment and just let us know what is your ministry involvement, okay? Now, thanks for that, Rexia. So relatively 2014, that's fairly new, no? And I think it really prepared us for what we are encountering now, I think, no. So uh let me ask you, kasi for ministers, like for pastors, we are so used to doing or hearing or doing outreaches, and we have that perspective or perception already of what an outreach looks like. But now when you talk about digital outreach, I'm sure, when I first heard of that, there was a big question marks on my head. It's like, digital outreach, what is that? Or or how do you do digital outreach? And I'm sure a lot of our friends who are watching will benefit from knowing how do you do digital outreach? Anyone can answer.
So yeah, I'll start. So we
Yeah.
follow the pray, care, and share model in doing digital outreach. So
Uh-huh.
pray, care, share. So the
Mhm.
first part is pray. So here are some tips
Yeah,
on how you can start praying.
yeah.
Maybe I'll
Pastor
just, you
Milton,
can
yeah, that's a
continue.
good question. So what we generally do is we follow the pray, care, share method.
Mhm. Okay. So you follow the pay care
Yeah, sorry.
share method. Go
Can
ahead.
you
Uh-huh.
can you hear me now? I'm so sorry. Yeah, so we start with pray. So basically, yeah,
Mhm.
so we list the names of the people you have online, your friends. So
Mhm.
these people that do not know that you know that do not have a relationship with Jesus yet. So we pray
Mhm.
for each one. We pray that God would open up their hearts for Jesus. We pray for good timing also.
Mhm.
We pray for yourself also as you continue to have wisdom and discernment on how to communicate the gospel with these people on your list. And we continue to
Mhm.
pray as you proceed to caring and sharing for them. To care and share, you continue to pray. So that's for
Okay.
pray.
Start with pray. Okay.
And then, yeah, after praying, care is the second one. So care, so this is actually the part wherein we will do the connection. So there
Mhm.
are actually different ways on how we can do that. For example, for young people, for young ones right now,
Mhm.
even by just liking, commenting, or sharing their post, it communicates care. So it
Mhm.
actually um communicates that you notice them in the social
Mhm.
media. So you care enough to interact with their post. You can also
Mhm.
show care by sending them coffee, cake, some sweets, right? So
Mhm.
via food delivery service. So that's another example. And you can also
Mhm.
show care when you get to know their interests. So ask questions, what is your favorite something something like that. So you can
Mhm.
actually recommend a book, a movie, or you can actually talk about the recent Korean drama that you have watched, something like that. So it shows care.
Mhm.
Another example is you show care. It means when you read their posts and asking them about how they are feeling, especially right now whenever we see
Mhm.
posts um that communicates, or maybe this person is sad, so you can start
Mhm.
communicating with the person, asking how are you, or that even simple question, how are you, it actually has a deep meaning when you ask that question to a person. So asking that question, it shows care.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, something caught my attention now when you said you sometimes the generation now, the younger ones, na sometimes just liking and sharing their posts already communicates that you care. Now that's
Yes, that's
something
Yeah.
correct.
new also. That's something na yung people in the youth ministry that may be good to take note of. If you're handling the youth, sometimes the youth people that you have, as per Rexil and our digital team, just liking and sharing, and that means a lot. And it's the same with IGSL. Now we feel
Yeah.
the care and we feel the love if you like and share our webinars. We'd like to get the
Yeah.
word out there. All right. And who'd like to continue?
And then the last part is share. So as you continue the conversation and get to know the person and deepen your relationship, you look for openings or themes that you can use to transition the conversation to a spiritual
Mm-hmm.
conversation and then to a gospel conversation or a gospel presentation. So it pays to
Mm-hmm.
listen and listen. So you may
Listen.
use a
Mm-hmm.
yes. So you may use a bridge to transition the conversation. And some examples of bridges are videos like falling plates. You can use that.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook posts of Sunday preaching or snippets of the Sunday preaching. some
Mhm.
articles, Christian articles, or blog posts of Christian
Mhm.
writers. And then when you do this, you always ask what they think about after watching or reading what you sent. And then as
Mhm.
they share their thoughts, you continue to listen, continue to ask questions, empathize, and then continue the
Mhm.
conversation and then lead to a gospel presentation. So when you
Mhm.
reach the point wherein you are sharing the gospel, we suggest that you use a gospel presentation that you are familiar with. So
Mhm.
some use the four spiritual laws, some use the one verse evangelism, Romans road. There are many ways on how to share the gospel. But yeah, you use the one tool or one gospel presentation that you are very familiar with. And
Mhm.
as you share the gospel, do not dump the whole gospel presentation. What do I mean
Yeah.
by that? So, an example, if you use the four spiritual laws, uh, send a copy or law one first and then talk about it. And then send the law
Mhm.
number two. So, use it as a
Mm.
conversation piece and not just a reading piece for them to digest.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, thank you for that. Eh, so hindi yung parang, I mean, you just send everything over, you expect it.
Yeah,
I mean, you finish the whole thing. Parang,
yeah, yeah.
is it something like that?
Mhm.
Oh. Well, so one thing I noticed about the steps that you were saying, pray, you write down their names, and
Mhm.
then you just all of them. It requires intentionality, right?
Yes,
So that's
yes.
what so it's you really have to be intentional, just like when you do outreaches outside, that you have to intentionally identify places, identify people you want to reach out to, what strategy you'd be using. It's basically the same thing that you just have to convert digitally. You just have to be intentional as well. So these are very helpful steps. Pray, care, and share. Okay. Thank you, Ace. And I think we are going on a break right now, right? We're going on a break. So let's just watch a few announcements before we go back. Mr. Ace and Miss Rexil and Mr. Aljus, let's continue on in a little while.
God Tools equips you to talk with others about how they can begin and grow their relationship with God, even if you've never shared your faith before. The app offers multiple tools that help you understand the gospel profoundly. Communicate it simply in over 60 languages. Share it easily, anytime, any place. Join those who have used it in over 200 countries. Step out in faith with God Tools today.
Yeah, and so we're back, we're live, and to our panelists, just allow me to acknowledge our some of the viewers who are watching now. They've commenting, and it's exciting to know that we have people watching from everywhere. I mean, just
Wow.
like our panelists, na Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. For our viewers, we actually have someone from Valenzuela. We have people watching from Myanmar, Cambodia, Indonesia, Sorsogon, Cavite. That's amazing, amazing. And we're doing this digitally. And through it, we're reaching so much more than normally we'd reach in a regular seminar where we are in one place, right? Okay. So pray, care, share. That was what we were discussing a while ago. And then it takes intentionality. One has to be intentional about it. So now let me ask you this. Oh, I remember when you said care, Rexil, one of the
Mhm.
things, was you also invest basically in what do you call this? I remember you saying in delivery service like food. Right? That's very true, though. So
Yeah.
doing digital ministry is not an excuse that, oh, I'm doing digital ministry, so I don't need to treat my disciples or these people already. Yeah. But anyway, Uh, just let me ask you, just like the traditional way of doing outreaches, the pastors know the challenges that we are faced with when we do that, and you know that as well. Is it the same thing with digital ministry? I mean, are there also challenges that you encounter when you do digital ministry? And if you could also just let us know, when you let us if there are challenges, what's the workaround or what solutions can probably be done so we can follow it, when we do these things.
Sure. So who wants to start? Okay, I'll start. One of the common challenges, especially here in the Philippines, when we do digital outreach, is we call it the free data syndrome. Or
Hmm.
when you send a message over chat, and you send a video or an image, they will
Hmm.
reply, "Sorry, I cannot view. I'm only using free data."
Ah, sounds familiar, sounds
Yes. Or
familiar.
in the local language, "Sorry, free data lang po." So some of the workaround there is, how about translating the message or what you want to convey in the video or in the image via text. It will take some
Mm-hmm.
time, but because the sincerity of the message comes with the commitment to communicate.
Mm.
Or
I like that the sincerity of the message comes with the commitment to communicate.
communicate,
Okay.
yes. Or if you have their mobile phone number, yeah, initiate to call or find other
Mhm.
ways to continue what you are sharing. So if they can accommodate possibly like a mobile phone call, then that can be a solution.
Mhm. Thank you, Mr. Ace. And so, first is free data syndrome. And most of the time, people think that pag digital ministry, it's only using laptop, internet. So
No.
it's good na
Or you could send
Mr.
free data
Pendon,
to a person.
or you can send data to a person.
Yeah, yeah. Show
Yes.
care.
Oh, that's good.
Send load.
Send load. I think I actually need load tonight also. Who said that? Si Aljus, no? Bro, I'll get your number later. That just again, we'd like to encourage those watching this webinar. If you have questions that you want to ask our panelists, please just comment on the comment boxes below the video, and if we have time, we'll try to answer it. Right? We have time allotted for question and answer. Right? So don't let this pass. Okay? Don't let this opportunity pass. We don't know how long still we will be in this situation where we have to do outreaches in this way digitally. And even I think one thing, Ace, no, that I realized when we got exposed to this condition, yung digital, when we had to transition digitally, it's not something that we actually need to let go of, even when the normal comes back, diba? It's
Yeah,
something
I
that we
agree.
can keep doing.
I agree.
Yeah, the thing that's very nice nga what I realize with what you guys are teaching us now is usually in the church, the digital ministry, social media, internet, tech, most of the time they're at the back burner of the ministries of churches. Eh. When you talk about those ministries, it's like they're shelved most of the time. Well, they're not paid much attention to. Pero this
Yeah.
pandemic has brought them to the forefront. And so
Yes.
it's good to know that you guys have been doing this for a while. And again, I'm sure we will be learning a lot as we continue on. Okay. Any other challenges?
Yeah, the next challenge is what we call unreal time phenomenon. So if there is real time, there is also what
Mm,
we call unreal time. So what does that mean? So for example, you are already in connection via chat with a friend, or yeah, a friend. So
mm,
when it takes 8 to 10 hours for your friend to reply,
mm,
so
mm.
Yeah, so maybe
Yung
along the
scene mode
way
ba yan?
he's not
Scene
yet
mode?
interested anymore, so he will not reply. Or sometimes because of some reasons like internet connection, schedule, work, busy, something like that, so they will not reply. So
Mm-hmm.
for some solutions for that kind of challenge, you communicate your availability to discuss further. Let's say, for example, you are already in the gospel presentation and then uh, your conversation was dropped or cut along the way. So you can communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk or can I go back to you tomorrow, same time?
Mm-hmm.
So you can take time to respond when your friend is available. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can set a time for further conversations. You communicate availability and
Mm-hmm.
intentionality.
Mm-hmm. Communicating availability and intentionality. Okay,
Yeah.
that's new. That's new na ano, yung unreal time phenomenon. So that's what it's
Yeah.
called. Yun yung mga tipong scene mode, right? Yung mga scene na hindi pa sumasagot. They're still not answering. But yeah, that's good. So again, I'm sure a lot of us, we encounter that when we try to reach out to people and they're not responding. They've called it unreal time phenomenon. And again,
Yeah.
we have various solutions for that. Just communicate intentionality and your availability to these people. Now, we have a question here that I'd like to read out. I'm not sure if it says, do we need to record video and edit before upload our video of the gospel presentation? What
Mm,
internet platform should we upload our videos? Maybe this is with regards to when you get to the sharing part,
yeah.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Would anyone want to answer that?
If you have the capacity to shoot, edit, and upload superb videos in the platform, hats off to you. Good job. But for
Yes.
many who doesn't have that capacity and talent, it's as simple as saving a text file in their phone,
Mm-hmm.
in their drafts,
Mm-hmm.
in their notes, a copy of the gospel presentation. I
Mm-hmm.
remember also one time that we were doing digital outreach and they only have physical copies of the booklet or the gospel presentation tool they are using. So what they did is they took photos of each page and sent it to their friend.
Mm-hmm.
So even as simple as that, it doesn't have to be videos with regards to the gospel presentation. So you can have
Mm-hmm.
it, save it in your phone, or have like photos of the pages, or you can use some of the digital tools that we will share later on that you can use.
Ayun. So that's exciting now for you who's tuned in later. Our panelists will be sharing tools that you can use. So it's not only video. So for Job who was asking about video editing, yeah, minsan that becomes a deterrent for ministers to minister basically because of the lack of tools, or for people to ministers because they think, do we need to edit a video, do we need to give an edited video to these people? So it's not a prerequisite, so to speak, to that. No, and let me ask you guys, because you've been in this ministry for some time already. So have you, could you just share to us some of the highlights probably of outreaches that you have done? Are there memorable things that have happened to you in your digital outreaches? Anyone can share.
Okay,
Hi.
Yes, Pastor Milton,
Yeah.
that is a good question. But before we go to that, there is actually another problem that we would like to share. Is it okay
Oh,
if we go
okay.
back to that third problem?
I'm sorry. Sure, sure. Yeah,
Yeah, thank
problems
you.
they abound. No? Problems abound.
Yeah,
Wherever. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. There's the third problem, Pastor Newton. It's the unfinished conversation blues. So this is when your friend suddenly drops out of the conversation. So out of nowhere, there's something that they have to do, and they say, "Na, oh, I can't reply to you right now, so I'll get back to you." So just like in unreal time phenomenon situation, we
Mhm, mhm,
communicate sincerity in the conversation, such as you can
mhm,
reply later on your free time. So yeah,
mhm,
so in this, so we have to be ready for the conversation to take off in another time. So
Mm-hmm.
and so what we do is we
mhm,
pray for that person, so that
mhm,
to also find the time to revisit the conversation. And
mhm,
there may be times that the person doesn't revisit that conversation, so you can try to pick uh pick that conversation up at the date mentioned. So sometimes they don't remember it, so you initiate. So you chat them, "Hey,
mhm,
hello, I realized we weren't able to continue on the
mhm,
topic, so I was wondering what you were thinking back then, or along those lines." And so yeah,
mhm.
you have to be ready to answer succeeding replies when that friend finally has the time to reply back. So Second Timothy 4:2. So preach the word, be prepared in every season. So yun. So
Yeah. Thank you, Al. Just no unfinished conversation blues. I didn't know that's what it's called. So parang what you're saying is just don't give up on these people. Tama
yeah,
ba? Those who aren't answering. Don't
yeah,
give up
exactly.
on them. Ah, kasi tendency is if they, when they start not replying to you already, you just bahala ka na. Eh.
Mm.
You go your own way, and I'll just find another person to minister to. Thank you
Yeah,
for that. Yes, we go ahead. You want to add something, Aljus?
yeah, yeah, it happens a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes it's best to be ready when these things happen, because you actually catch them off guard at times. Like, yeah, maybe they're cooking or something, especially at the
Yeah.
times that.
Aha,
So,
aha.
so yeah,
Yeah.
just be
So,
ready.
wag nyo, don't feel bad that people aren't responding to you. No, one of my uh, professors in IGSL, who I don't know is if he's watching, but I remember one thing that he said to me. He read it from somewhere. I forgot the book, but he said sometimes we respond to an effect. We respond to the stories that we make in our head, not to the actual situations. So it's the same thing with that. Na minsan, if they don't get to reply to us, oh, by the way, that professor is Kuya Brian Virtue. Okay, so if Kuya Brian is watching, hello to my ISG leader. Anyway, uh, so that's true. Don't just I mean, don't think that they're not interested in responding to you. It could be that you caught them at a bad time. They're busy doing something. They cannot be disturbed. So that's a good that's a good explanation. I'll just thank you for that. No? Okay. And now, do you see any other problems, or do you want to share about the highlights, naman, of your digital ministry? Yeah, highlights. Uh, Things that were memorable as you did these ministry. Yeah. Would you like to I just you wanna start it off?
All right. I think one thing that I could like very memorable, I think, is recently when the pandemic started, we did a digital outreach with
Mm-hmm.
uh, here in Cebu. So what we did was like, hey, gather people and all. And there was this student among them, and we didn't tell. We didn't really ask. We just gave after the digital outreach. Hey, here's the materials. If you want to do it, do it. And what he did was that he initiated digital outreach in their church. So their church
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a what do you call this? Their youth wasn't that established yet, but
Mm-hmm.
that didn't like hinder him from doing a digital outreach. So he actually did it in his church, and it was cool. When he found out that it was easy to do, and he said, "Hey, Kuya, it's easy to do. I guess we can do this." So
Mm. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so yeah, that's memorable for me because if you don't need a student could do it, and he found it easy to lead others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like like he realized na, oh, it's a nice experience to do, especially at this time where you can't physically
Mm,
gather people. So yeah, I think those are
thank
a fruit of things.
Yeah, thank you for that, Aljus. Now, so students, you were ministering to students, and even then there were highlights. There's a question posted by one of our viewers that I'd like to read. Actually, I think it's a very good question.
Mhm.
Uh, he says, by Lassing, it says, our country is very sensitive about religion online. So if I share the gospel with my online Facebook, other religion can look other perspective to me. I am not ashamed about the gospel, but it might be there might be a conflict there. How is your suggestion in this situation? I disagree. The people in the closed countries probably no.
Mhm.
Do you have any answers to that? Suggestions?
Number one, we suggest that you start with your friends first. You start communicating or talking the gospel to your friends first, or at least if it's a
Mhm.
social network, try communicating, yeah, to those whom you know. And then, if posting in your social media is something that will endanger your life, then let's find other ways for you to
Mhm.
continue sharing the gospel. We don't want
Uh,
you to be too reckless or throwing caution out of the wind. So start with your friends first, then or find a secure channel where you can communicate.
mhm.
So those have been helpful in the context of countries wherein Christianity is not open. So
Mm.
some of our friends are also doing that. Just starting with their friends first.
No, thank you for that, Mr. Ace. And we have another question. This is history. We made history. We have our first question from YouTube. Okay, from YouTube. Normally we get it on Facebook, but we finally have one from YouTube. And here's the question: what if you have done prayer, care, and share, but do not really want to know God? What to do next? I guess you've prayed for this person,
Yeah,
you cared for this person, then you shared the gospel to this person, and it seems like this person is just not receptive to everything that you're doing to the God. I mean, probably receptive to the care, especially if you're sending in food, right? Food load. That's good. But not receptive to the gospel. Uh, well, how could you encourage the people when they encounter things like that?
Hmm. Um, I think for me, I guess,
Mhm,
continue to pray for the person, continue to care. Either way, I don't
mhm,
think they're robots to begin with, so they will feel something. The intentionality in it, like, hey, this person really cares for me, and maybe what he's saying is making sense, and God works through that, and yeah, we
mhm,
just continue doing. I mean, it is God's work at the end.
mhm. Thank you,
Yeah.
Aljus Ganda. That's a nice reminder. It is God's work. Yes, Miss Rexel.
Yeah, let me add to that. So for me, for those kind of situations, I actually remember in the meaning of success in witnessing. So let me just state
Mhm,
that success in witnessing is simply taking the initiative to share Christ in the power of the Holy Spirit and leaving the results to God. So you did your
mhm,
part, you did the prayer, the caring part and sharing. So if the person is not yet ready, so it's okay. Let's continue to pray for that person. But as long as you did your part to take the initiative sharing, then you just leave the results to God.
Thank you
I
for that,
agree.
Miss Rexel. Uh, would anyone, would Ace want to add to that? Or do you want to, are you very excited to share about yung highlights mo on
Yeah.
or anyone about digital ministry?
Yeah, especially with partnering with churches. Um, as I talk to different like youth leaders, church members, pastors, we all know that we have differences.
Mhm.
differences
Mhm.
in how we do ministry, in perspectives. But one thing that we discovered is because sharing the gospel is something that
Mhm.
is common to us and it's a command of Jesus,
Mhm.
even through our differences and how we do things, we can work together. I remember one event, a digital outreach event. So we opened it in South Manila. So
Mhm.
other church, other denominations and different denominations attended that. So imagine the portion wherein we're talking about sharing the gospel, and they have their own perspectives, they have their own
Mhm.
methods.
Mhm.
So for someone who would train that kind of like mixed crowd, it can be a nightmare because
Mhm.
we when we told them that use the gospel presentation that you know, and if you
Mhm.
don't know how to share the gospel, maybe ask one of your leaders within your group to teach you how to share the gospel. And if you don't,
Mhm.
or if you don't, if it came solo and you don't know how to share the gospel, just raise your hand, and one of us can actually walk with you in sharing the gospel. So even like pastors appreciated that, helping them
Mhm.
also train some of their members in how to
Mhm.
sharing the gospel. Also,
That's
Rexil has
very
some fun
yes. Yeah.
stories as well.
Uh,
Yeah,
Rexel.
um let me share my what I remember about doing a digital outreach with older people. So some say that this digital outreach is only for younger ones, but actually it's not. So we have experiences wherein our participants are older people. So I remember
Mhm.
we went, I think that was last year. So we went to Dipolog to conduct a
Mhm.
digital outreach in partnership with the churches there in Dipolog. And
Mhm.
actually, our participants are 50-50, 50 young, so students, young professionals, and 50 those who belong in the older group. So they are
It's good to clarify
pastors.
that, no, 50-50.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm talking about the numbers, the numbers.
Okay.
So so the older people, so these are pastors, church leaders, church deacons, and I can actually notice and observe that they are having difficulty in navigating through their laptops or mobile phones to do the digital outreach. But I think that's reality, that's normal. But what amazes me is their heart to really do, to learn on how to do it.
Mhm.
So that's what I think it's important. Once you have the heart to share the gospel online, then even though you are having hard time, then you can conquer that. So yeah, that's one thing I remember.
Mhm.
That means that digital outreach is not only for younger ones, so it's
Yeah,
also for all
Well,
generations.
generations.
thank you for that. I know that's very encouraging, Rexil. Na. And I'm sure that a lot of our, there may be people here who are saying that I'm too old to do that, or some of our pastors maybe who are watching. Because I know for sure I've encountered members who really say, "Na, we're too old for that. It's too hard to do digital ministry." So that's very encouraging to know, Rexil, that you actually were able to do it. You were able to train people, these older people, and they were able to do digital ministry. That is so good. And Ace, I just want to ask you, or any one of you now, but because I heard one of the things that you do also is partnering with churches and pastors, because you had some memorable, digital outreaches through partnering with churches also, right? So
Yes,
maybe I
Pastor
don't
Ben.
know if you're gonna talk about this later, because I'm sure some of our viewers may be asking, what if they wanted to know more about how to do this? Maybe
Yeah,
like, can they invite you, or where could they contact you?
yeah,
You
sure.
know, so they
If
could.
you want me, yeah, we can answer that later, and
Okay,
we'll give some of our contact or where how to reach us.
all right. So for those asking, or for those who may be asking, no, we want to learn more about this, and maybe these guys can do a seminar or a webinar in your church, not a seminar, a webinar in your church. Just stay tuned for their details later. Okay. So for now we are going on a break, and we will be right back after a few announcements. Okay. Okay, and we are back. Okay, welcome back. If you are watching again, we'd like to encourage the viewers. If you are viewing, why don't you send in any questions, comments that you have? Post it on the comment sections. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, you would have to log in to your YouTube account so you would be able to comment or send in your questions. Okay. Now we get to this question naman. Now, as we were talking about questions, let me start us off with a question. What are some available tools? Okay, available tools that we can use for digital outreach.
So one of our favorite tools that we use,
Mhm.
the video, is called Falling Plates. You
Falling
can
plate.
watch it, Falling Plates. So you can watch
Okay.
it at fallingplates.com. So it's so simple. You can use that as a bridge for conversation and start talking about God and Jesus. So that's one
Mhm.
the thing that we use.
Mhm.
The other, if you notice, some of our like in during our breaks, we featured two tools called God Tools and the Jesus
Mhm.
Film Project app.
Mhm.
Um, so those are some of your free tools that you can download. It
Mhm.
has gospel. The God Tools has gospel presentation that you can share from your phone, share to a contact, or even show to someone whom you are together with. So
Mhm.
you can use your phone and also at the same time send the contents of that through the message. So for the Jesus film, it contains like the whole Jesus film that we have been accustomed to, but at the same time, it has some clips, other clips that you can also use to start conversations about God.
Mhm.
I think there we
Okay.
still have other tools.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we can actually use Voke app, the Parting Gift, Mission Hub. So these are applications that you can download for free in your mobile phones. So the Parting Gift, this is actually a video that you can use, a very short video, like around, I think, less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Personally, I love using this Parting Gift app, especially when I share the gospel to students, because the video actually contains, it's a love story. It's a love story video.
Mhm.
And at the end of the video, there are actually questions that we can connect to the gospel. So it's
Mhm.
very easy to use. And
Ah,
Aljun, would you like to talk about
Miss Chelsea,
other?
can I
Yes,
can I have you repeat that? What's it? Parting gift? Is it parting gift app?
yeah, the
Yes.
parting gift.
Okay. Okay. So
Yes.
for those who that's because that's pretty new to me. I never heard that. So parting gift. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
like me who have never heard that app, again, that's a tool that you can use. It's flashed on our screen below. Parting gift app. Okay. Hey, any other tools that you'd like to recommend?
There's this tool called Mission Hub.
Mission
So
Hub. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so Mission Hub allows to journey with other people. So you can journey with them through that app. So it's basically straightforward, and when you can check it out, and so yeah, you want to journey with other people and all, so you want to give them challenges to do and whatsoever and all.
Mm.
So yeah, Mission Hub.
Mission Hub. I hope you put those tools on our comment section, no? Because I'm sure a lot
Yeah.
of our viewers would love to be able to use those as they embark on this new journey of doing digital outreaches, and those will
Yeah.
be very helpful. Okay, thank
Yes.
you for those. Uh Maybe again, we'd like to encourage you if you have any more questions, the viewers, if you're viewing us on Facebook or on YouTube, please send in your comments or your questions through the comment section of the social media pages, okay? And we are nearing the end of this webinar, and I'm sure that we have learned a lot, and we will still learn a lot, just keep the
Yeah.
questions coming. The last 10 minutes we can use it to answer some questions that our viewers may have, no? Or does anyone want to share further about? And let me just ask you. Uh, Let me go back to the pray, care, and share. About pray,
Mhm.
care, and share. Is there like a formula of like how many days do I have to pray for this person? Then how many days before I show care? How many days before I share? Is there a formula like that you have to follow?
We're laughing because we have different answers and we have different experiences.
Mhm.
um, for sure, I think let me rephrase it into a challenge or how where we
Mhm,
usually have hurdles. So you some ask like how uh where is the hurdle or where do most people like stay stuck?
Hmm.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. So most people, we can say that most people are having a hard time transitioning from pray care going to share.
mhm,
So they
mhm.
get stuck with the pray and care portion. So some
10 years
concerns that we
now,
have identified.
like
Yeah. So like pray care,
I'm
pray
10
care,
years of
pray care.
entering.
Yes,
Uh,
like so one like concern that we have identified is maybe the person the Christian is shared to share the gospel.
Mm.
That's a
mhm,
hurdle because
mhm,
that's why he
yeah,
can transition to the share part.
mhm,
Yeah.
One thing we can say is remember your identity in Christ
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
and the
mhm,
urgency of the gospel.
mhm.
So that's one way. Aldrus and Rexil, maybe you can share some heard like why do they have a hard time transitioning to the share part?
I think on the younger ones, so part is like the scared part. The second I think is they don't know where to start. Like like they don't really know how to share the gospel in a way. And in my experience, like with younger the students, we tell them like, hey, how did you meet Christ? Tell your story. So, and
Mhm,
so
mhm,
and it's also a good way for churches to initiate a training for their younger ones. That, hey, if they don't know how to share the gospel, why not train them for gospel sharing? I guess so. I think the second is they don't know where to start, like how to share it and all.
mhm. I like what you said, Aljuso, when you said that you asked them, tell us your story. Parang that's something that siguro that's an entry point that you can kind of
Yeah,
gauge where that person is at, no?
true. And no one can say, na, hey, you're lying, but that's my story. So this is how Christ changed
Yeah,
me. So yeah,
yeah. Okay, and you share your story. You shared
yeah.
your story also. Oh, thank you for that. I just before we proceed, if anyone wants to say anything, we have another question that and it says, how do you share the gospel to younger ones like grade schoolers? Okay, like grade schoolers. Does anyone want to answer that?
Personally, I do not have any experience on that, but as I remember, like during one of our mission trip,
Mm-hmm.
So one of my teammates brought his his kid. So I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that the way they share, so actually even kids ages 10 years old below, so they can actually share the gospel by just using some toys. I don't know what are actually
Mm-hmm.
those, the Lego. I think there are gospel presentation using a Lego. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
we can use that, explore on that. But personally, I do not have any experience sharing the gospel to
Mm-hmm.
preschoolers.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Rex. Actually, I was just reminded one of our IGSL professors, Kuya Adam Day, he actually has videos and it's interesting because he uses his old toys. Old toys when
Mm-hmm.
he was a kid. Like he uses, I think I saw Voltron yata and some other stuff, and he was using them to tell Bible stories, and it was so cool. So that's one thing that you, tama yung sabi ni Rexil, no? We can do that. That you have to level with them somehow. No, you have to
Yeah.
level with them, make the gospel understandable to them being kids. All right. Anyone else or a few more? I mean, give me a minute. Let's see if we have another question. Sorry about that. Okay. Why don't we prepare for our closing statements? Last 5 minutes. So, Mr. Ace Pendon, do you have any closing statements? Closing things you want to tell our viewers?
Aljus, you want to start? I can
Yes.
go last.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so I'll start. So every day, more people are going online. So regardless of economic status or age, uh, they are present online, and how we communicate and interact with each other is changing. But the need is still the same. So the need of a savior is still there. So go out there and be good stewards of the resources that we have. Yan.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and for me, this is what I would want to say. Habakkuk 2:14 says, "For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea." So that is actually a great picture to imagine that one
Mm,
day the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. But aside from imagining that kind of picture, I actually ask myself, and you can also ask yourself too, how are you taking part?
Yeah.
how are you taking part? Thank you, Rexel.
Yeah.
Mr. Ace, before you give
Yeah.
your closing statements, I have one more. I have one more question that came
Mhm.
from our viewer. Okay, and actually, this is very relevant. This is very relevant. The question is, do you see? I mean, this is not directed to you.
I know. I know.
Ace, or anyone. Anyone can answer this. Says, where's that? Do you see the potential of TikTok for digital ministry? Diba? TikTok. I I I actually have
Yan,
never
yan.
done that yet.
I
So
let the Gen Z answer.
all right, I guess yes, very. There's a great potential in TikTok. So there's a lot. I've seen so far is this before and after challenge that church has done here in Cebu. So before Christ and after Christ. So they did it. It was so
Mm,
cool. Like they just if you can look it up in TikTok, you can see that the before and after challenge thingy they did. And in a way it caused like a stare, like, hey, what's this, what's going on? And yeah, TikTok is a great
mhm,
avenue because there's a lot of people in TikTok, so we basically go where they are and people respond to that.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
I should be
I
doing
like.
TikTok na pala.
Yeah, but I'd like to add on a on a the other side of the tech.
Ah,
We know that TikTok is receiving like negative publicity with regards to security and
mhm,
data
mm,
privacy and leakages. So yes, we go where people are, but we need to be mindful of like security risks. So
mm,
we can weigh which one is this risk is it's okay to take that risk, or let's not go there because of like security threats or that
mhm,
kind. So yes, it's a potential for ministry, but it also has some risks. Yeah.
mhm. Thank you, Mr. Ace. Okay.
Yeah.
And any last
So
words?
yes,
Ace.
this is what we love to say, that behind every screen is a person, and every person has a story, and every story matters to God. So that is why we need a human strategy first before a digital strategy. So we need to cultivate love and compassion for people. Your love and
Mm-hmm.
compassion will surely transcend behind the screen. And
Mm-hmm.
why are we doing digital outreach? Simple thing, because we want to make disciples.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Ace. And that is very nice. Yung sabi mo na, we need to cultivate love and compassion for people. Just because we can't be with them physically, parang yun, it's a reminder for all of us. Just because we can't be with them physically, it doesn't mean that we stop having compassion for
Yeah.
these people. So we have to keep reaching them out. And I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot about how to do, I mean, at least little steps towards doing digital outreach. Okay? And so, thank you, Mr. Ace Pendon, Miss Rexil Ramos, and Mr. Aljus Salomon, the team from Crew Digital Ministry. We appreciate you, the insights and the thoughts that you have shared with us and with our viewers. And again, if they wanted to learn more about doing digital ministry, must in-depth studies on or learnings about digital ministry, where do they contact you or how do they get in touch with you?
Send a message to our Facebook page. It's Crew Philippines. Our account is actually uh, giving some comments, so you can find that in the comment section. Crew Philippines. Send us a message. Say you'd like to learn more or partner with us for digital outreach.
Yeah, thank you for that. Again, Crew Philippines, you can find their Facebook page in the comment section. Just message them there. And before we end our session for tonight, just a few more announcements that we'd like you to watch and see. Okay? Okay. Do we have another announcement? No, I think that's it. Okay, so is there one more? Okay, let's just wait while we're waiting for that other announcement to be played. No, again, for our viewers, we'd like to just thank you for joining us in this webinar, and we pray. Ang prayer namin is that you learn something that can move you forward, even with this condition. I know it's been difficult. I know it's been difficult, having to deal with a pandemic, having to deal with a situation. Not only the pastors, not only the volunteers, the church workers. It's been difficult for everyone, for all of us, who love people, who'd like to be able to show care to people and share Christ to people. But again, I hope this is an encouragement to each one that we can still continue doing it. Let's not let this limitation or this situation keep us from sharing God's love to the people that He has placed in our heart. Now we have a lot of ways to do it, and we can go digital. And as they have pointed out earlier, not it's just not through internet. It's not just through the computers. You can use your cell phones. May cell phone mismo pang tawag to call them, send them a text message, show them that you care. Okay? And let's see one more video before we officially close this webinar.
IGSL envisions a growing network of Christ-like leaders building spiritual movements, exerting moral influence, and transforming nations for the glory of God. IGSL exists to develop servant steward leaders for key sectors of society. We're excited about our 800 plus alumni. They are providing servant steward leadership in government, non-government organizations, churches, businesses, ministries, schools, in 38 countries around the world. Networking with like-minded people, these graduates are seeking to see transformation in their organizations and their communities as well. In time, we believe that a greater impact for the glory of God will be seen in the nations where they are serving.
Okay, we're back. Mr. Ace Pendon, Ms. Rexil, Mr. Aljaz, thank you very much for your time. And to all our viewers, again, thank you for watching another episode of IGSL's Iron Sharpening Moments. And we hope that you have learned a lot. I'm sure that I have learned a lot. Huh? And we hope to see you again in one of our future webinars. Good night and God bless to all of you.